Well, hello there and welcome to Athens Off the Record. I'm your host, Cameron J. And of course, this podcast continues to be brought to you by our friends here at Visit Athens as we continue to, together with you, explore the music, makers, shakers, and MVPs of the classic city. And speaking of MVPs and music, I'm so very excited to welcome our special guest today, Velena Vego, who is known for her role at the 40 Watt Club, yes, but also supporting and helping so many artists come through the town that is our Athens. So Velena, hello and welcome to the podcast. It's so good to see you.
Yes. Great to see you.
Well, I am so curious to learn, having known your name for so long, how did you get involved in the music scene to begin with?
Sure. So, good question.
Yeah.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
and I was in an all-girl band in Atlanta, and my sister and myself moved up here. She was 17 and I was 19,
Okay.
and this is the early 80s, and we were in a band for 6 years here.
Wow.
So played the 40 Watt and Uptown Lounge and got to know everybody in the music scene.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually recording at John Keene's studio and ended up breaking up. And when we broke up, I was like, oh, goodness, what am I going to do now?
But not with
And
your sister, just the
not
band.
with my sister, but with the band. And early 20s and just trying to figure it out. I'd only gone to school for about a year and a half. And my mother, who actually was in the music industry too, she worked for Sam Phillips in Memphis, Tennessee. So she was around, Elvis, Jerry.
Wow.
I mean, Roy Orbison, just all those great people in the 50s. And she said, you're going to have to create your own job. And so with that being said, I was like, you're right. And so I went down to the 40 Watt where it is now at 285 West Washington. They just bought the building. And I walked in, and of course they knew me through my band. But I said, is there any way, can I answer phones? Whatever I can do for y'all, I'd love to be a part of it. And thank goodness they said yes, and that was 34 years ago. So I've been there
Wow.
for 34 years.
Well, it is
Yep.
an amazing place to be. I've seen quite a few shows there. Some of them I remember, some of them a little more hazy, as you can imagine. I'm curious, you come to Athens in the 80s-ish, you said. Tell me, what was Athens like? Because so many people, like me, have only been here 13 years, and so we don't know, what decades past look like.
Sure.
So give us a window into that.
Yeah, so what I always say, when you're younger and everything, people make a big deal. This is people that, in high school or college and go, those were the magic years or those were this and that. And I do think there was a little bit of magic, obviously, because there was the start of REM and Love Tractor and Pylon, and B-52s had already kind of had a little bit of stardom. And then
I got
they
to see
moved.
them here recently.
Yes.
So good.
Yes, and I got to do that show
That was
because
awesome.
I worked for Live Nation. But with that being said, there was a lot of it. It was smaller, so there was fewer bars. So you just went out every single night, and you didn't really care who was playing, and so you just got to see a lot of bands that became really big, not even in the South, but just across the country.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely say the art school was so big here at the University of Georgia, and so you just had a lot of artists, and so it really was the music scene and students. So I love that time period. But what I say, since I've been here for so long, there's always magic in Athens, Georgia, and there's
Yes.
always bands and different things that are coming up and stuff. And so, I'm just very positive about, I'm just so happy I got to stay here and do what I love. This is, I booked over 6,000 shows over at the 40 Watt Club, so many, many shows there and many, many bands I always say from Kenny Chesney to Snoop Dogg, you know what I mean?
Good
to
choices,
Luke
both.
Combs. It's just such a variety of music, and I will say we are kind of the tastemakers at the 40 Watt. We have had things first; they come first, and then they blow up,
Yeah.
and we pride ourselves on that. So the owner of the 40 Watt, Miss Barry Buck, and it'll be our 35th year next year together as partners, and I know how lucky I am
Yeah.
to be able to stay in this great city and do what I love, for
Well,
sure.
we're lucky to have
Yes.
you and the venue as well,
Yeah.
and all of the great music that comes
Yes.
out of the 40 watt. Can you tell folks a little bit about the history of the venue? I love the logo, and I know there's some history behind that too, but I'll let you speak to that.
So the 40 Watt Club, if you Google it, it's been in 4 or 5 different spots.
I thought so,
And
yeah.
so the original spot before me, in the late 70s, I think, it was like 78 or 79, a bunch of ragtag kids wanting to have a after-hours place, basically had a small, like over there where the, unfortunately Starbucks was there on the corner.
Clayton?
Yeah,
or
on
Broad?
Clayton.
Yeah, I thought so. Mm-hmm.
And it was upstairs. But anyway, I heard that they put a 40-watt light bulb, and it was just like one light bulb in this room.
I heard the same thing, so something must be true.
Yeah, so it has to be true. And so they called it the 40-Watt Club. And so, like I said, I have played in a couple of the different places at the 40-Watt. But in 1991, Barry Buck bought the building, and it used to be an old grocery store, a Big Star grocery store. And then it became, I think, like a big thrift store or something like that. But it was an empty building when she bought it, and then she had to renovate it. Her father was a pretty famous architect that worked on the Morton Theater and worked on a few historical buildings in Athens. Barry Buck is from Atlanta as well as myself. But anyway, once the 40 watt became that where it is now, in 1991 until now, we own it. And so that's very, very important. Legacy, obviously, because there has been other 40 watts, but that one has been the longest running, and like I said, it'll be 35 years next year, and so thankfully, because when COVID hit, and everyone in the music industry had to kind of shut down.
Yeah, what a wild time.
Shut down for a year and a half. I always say we were so incredibly blessed because we owned the building. And so if we didn't own that building, that probably would have been hard for us to come back. But since she owns the building, we were good.
In good shape. Tell me this, why did the 40 watt become in your vision, well, apart from your vision, I think you're a part of it, why has it become such an iconic place that has seen, like you said, musicians that come there and play and then they blow up? What's contributed to that?
Well, first and foremost, Athens, Georgia, I always say, is a football town and a music town.
Yes.
And a lot of the...
And they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No, not at all. But sometimes they connect. And with that being said, there is a lot of bands that love the SEC. And for instance, when I talked about Kenny Chesney, he wanted to go work out with the football team and play for the University of Georgia, which he did twice. And he just donated all his money to actually Nucci Space, which was very kind.
That's amazing, yeah.
And so we get a lot of those folks, and then also just the magic of Athens, where they I want to play where REM played. And what I have done in the last 35 years is that it is sacred to me, that stage, and who has been on that stage. One of the first shows that I ever booked in 1991 was Nirvana, and for $1,500, and so I still have the contract.
Bet that's not the cost today.
Yeah. So exactly. But so I always think of it almost like the Apollo or something where you just it's special to be there, or you have to rub the rock or whatever. To me, that's I'm just very particular and knew that I from the get that you graduate to the 40 Watt Club. You don't just play there because you want to play. Yeah. And so it should be an honor, and you should be working really hard to get there and stuff like that. So I think because I kept it so special, that just the legacy. We just had Jack White last year, and he's played for us with the White Stripes and different things that he's been in for many years, but we have not had him in so long because he's so big. But he was doing a club tour, and he picked us. Wow. So it's just stuff like that where they come back, and we get a lot of underplays because they just remember us being kind or nice. And I remember having John Mayer on that.
One of my favorites.
Yes,
by the way.
On that stage and counting in the audience, and it was 25 people there, But I knew it. I just knew it. It was just something. You know what I mean? You just you know when somebody can touch somebody, and just I just knew he was special.
There's
so
some
I had him.
intuition
Yeah.
involved,
So I had him a few times. Very, very nice man, and I know he remembers us as well. But it's those kind of stories that we've been blessed, to have and to share.
Blessed.
But to go back to that, Athens is also a secondary market, so we're not Atlanta, we're not New York. Chicago, even Nashville. And so I did in the beginning have to introduce myself to a lot of agents and flying to Los Angeles and New York and Nashville and just kind of explaining the magic of Athens and why the band should come here. And no, we don't have a big radio station, and no, we don't have this, but you know, I mean, we've got these kids, these students that just love music. And the greatest story, or one of the greatest stories for me, I was in San Francisco, and I was my husband is a musician, and
David Lowery,
yeah, David Lowery of Cracker and Camper Van Beethoven. Anyway, and I was at the merch booth, and someone goes, "Are you Velena Vego?" And I was like, "Oh goodness, they're going to ask me about my husband." And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "I went to law school at University of Georgia, and I saw this band, he's talking about Kings of Leon and all the bands that he saw, and he goes, that was the best, couple years of my life." And that made me so happy that, like, he's still, 20 years later, thinking about the time he had in Athens and the time he went to school here. And I always tell all the students, this is the time to go to Georgia Theater, Classic Center, Arena, 40 Watt Club, because you do not know who you're going to see, and maybe they'll blow up, and you'll never have the opportunity to see them this close up.
Sure.
So I always think that, and I say that, and then I was at the Classic Center for Bonnie Raitt and Bob Dylan, and there was 60 plus age group, and I loved it. So I don't think we should always think of Athens being 18 to 24. I think that we have learned that there's a lot of people who maybe did go to school here. Now they're coming to retire. Maybe they're entrepreneurs. Maybe now after COVID they work remotely and they can live anywhere they want, and they come here. So I am seeing a difference with different age groups, you know what I mean, at all of these shows. It's not just college driven.
Well, I always say, as a musician myself, that music does have a way of bringing different generations together, too. And speaking of generations, I do want to go back, because this is a question I've always wondered. You've mentioned B-52s, REM, Widespread, Panic, Pylon, all these great Athens bands that kind of came about in the same time frame. What led to their early success? Why Athens, and why that time, do you think?
Well, most of them, as far as I know, went to school here.
That's what I thought,
So they kind of met here. I know with REM, they met at the Walk Street Records that's still there on the corner. Just talking music, and it's like, hey, we should be in a band, and, it's just, magic and stuff. So I think at that time, especially in the 80s, it wasn't as hard to get into school here like it is now. We didn't
I don't think I could get in
these
days.
We did not have Hope Scholarship and stuff like that, so I think it was harder. But also, you have these artist types, these people, and to be honest with you, when you look up anybody that you love, it could be a director or a writer. Most people write they're greats when they're very young and they have the time, right? So I think that this was just a perfect, like, almost incubator for these people to come here and be in this art scene and to feed off of each other and write some really great songs that thankfully, it just went global. It wasn't just regional, it was like global. But they also had the discipline, the B-52s, and REM especially, to get out there and tour. You know what I mean? Like, they just didn't stay here.
Which can't be easy.
Yeah, so they're not the big fish in the little pond. I mean, they were playing colleges across and then it was just word of mouth, people talking about, have you seen this band, or do you have this single, and stuff like that. So at that time, we have to remember there wasn't as much competition. Now there's, all kinds of things on TV and games
Social
and this.
media.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like scrolling. None of that. So that's what I'm saying. Everybody, when you're young, you just go out and about, and you tend to, go to shows that maybe you don't know anything about, but you're like, I don't care. It was $5, right?
Right.
And it's the Red Hot Chili Peppers or Jane's Addiction or whoever it was, but it was like these huge bands, but we didn't have to really pay that much, and we didn't know them at the time that they were going to be so big.
That is so cool to me.
I mean, it was incredible.
That brings up a good question. So you've mentioned, like, I'm so shocked to know Kenny Chesney was at the 40 Watt. So I'm curious, what are some other acts that came here in your time that people would be surprised to know came to Athens? John Mayer was another one.
So I would say Kenny Chesney, Dierks Bentley, Luke's Combs, Sugarland.
Oh, one of my
Snoop
favorites.
Dogg, Salt and Pepper, Run DMC, Kings of Leon, Jack White, the White Stripes, Foo Fighters, Nirvana. We've just had so many.
That was great.
I always ask people. I'm always going because they say, "What do I do?" and whatever, and I go, "What's your favorite band?" Because I probably booked it.
Yeah.
Because I probably have. At least once, right? So yeah, and that's the thing. We do get comedians too. We've had some great. Great comedians, and it was just we had one, and then they told they told their friends, like, you should come to Athens.
I'm noticing the comedy scene's coming back in Athens.
Yes.
I'm noticing a lot of those shows now.
And I just saw Leanne Morgan, at the arena that was completely sold out at whatever that is, 4,500, 5,000, and it was all Athenians. You know what I mean? And it's just so wonderful to see. People love comedy. Yeah, good comedy. They love comedy.
Yeah.
So I love doing that too.
With the music scene, one thing I'm also curious, going back to that, is do you think both locals and students alike are really what fuels that music scene, that it takes both together in tandem?
You're talking about the townies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think you have to have both. Because fortunately or unfortunately for me, every 4 years I have to reinvent myself at the 40 Watt because they graduate. So, I am counting on the locals to stay here, or the people, the entrepreneurs, or people that, retire here or whatever they do. I can't just count on just the college students.
Yeah.
And so I have to be pretty diverse in but I've always wanted to do that for Athens.
And y'all are diverse there.
Yeah, we wanted y'all to, look at our website and see something that you would like to see, instead of just being, and I think, thank goodness, I was smart enough to do that, because music comes and goes. So people might love country this time, but then they like jazz.
People are always surprised to know I'm a country fan.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. You just don't know. And so if I had just stuck with we're the punk rock club, or we're the whatever singer-songwriter club, I don't know.
And that's reflective of Athens' diversity too, I feel. Both in the music space, yes, but also just in people and thought and approach to life.
And we really, yes, I've been booking for a long time, and, but again, it's who we hire too. It's the door people, it's the bartenders, it's the sound people, because I can say they want to come back because of Barry and myself, but a lot of times they love our sound people, or they love, a bartender.
I've heard comments on your sound system and the lights, both of which are top notch.
Yeah, and so we have big bands actually stealing away our sound people for big tours, and we're like, okay, I know you love us, but now you just took our best sound person, but we're happy for them. Do you know what I mean? So I
maybe
think
it brings them back too.
Yes, and I think it's important, and Barry and I both feel this way, that since we are so diverse and we have all kinds of stuff every night of the week, for door people and bartenders to be very polite, even if that's not their kind of music or their kind of event.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no judgment there, and if you don't want to work, then don't work that day.
Yeah.
Right.
And in addition to just kind of speaking on the multifaceted nature of what you do, you mentioned music acts, comedy, but y'all also do a lot of community stuff too. Like you're very much invested in the Athens community. Can you talk a little bit about that too?
Sure. So we do Boy Betante every year, and so I think we're on our 35th year next year.
One of my favorite events.
Yeah.
So good.
And so it's just like you just said, it has grown. And they appreciate us and how supportive we are, and the deals that we make for those kind of nonprofit situations. But usually if someone comes to me and says, hey, we need to make money for this or this, you know what I mean, that we're very open, because as Barry said, Barry Buck, who I keep mentioning, is the owner of the 40 Watt, and she did go to school here, and so did her sister. And I always say that if Barry and Jessica wasn't here, or if they had left right after school, you would not have had the 40 Watt, you would have not had Boquitos, you wouldn't have Ted's Most Best, you wouldn't have had the Grit. I mean, there was a lot, her sister's in the restaurant business, and then she's in the music.
I didn't realize all that is kind of intertwined.
Oh, yeah. So what I'm saying is Jessica, her sister, owns all the restaurants, and Barry owns the the 40 Watt Club. And so I always wonder, like, and then like I said, her father being an architect and working on the Morton and stuff, I just go, I wonder, that would have been interesting, not having the 40 Watt and not having these restaurants that we love, right?
Well, you are such a central staple. I mean, I will never forget my first time coming to the 40 Watt was for Boy Butin. When I was a freshman in college. It was great. It was great. But truly a remarkable venue. I'm curious, Velena, with all of your experience, how do you think the city and culture of Athens shapes the musical artists that come out of this town?
Well, I think what we've been just talking about is the diversity, and then also just people being prideful. I think everybody, even if, like you say, you've only been here 13 years, but you know the legacy, you know what I mean, and you're proud of that, and you talk about that to people when you say,
I never want to leave if they'll keep me.
Yeah. I hear you. That's how I feel. But I feel like, you know, it's interesting, even my bankers and different people that you would think are maybe a little conservative and maybe are not interested, they're telling me shows they go to or what they're excited about and or what they've done or what their kids have gone to see and stuff like that. So, like when I say, you know, it's football and music town, it really is. Do you know what I mean? And so I think to be honest with you, I just think it keeps you young. I think it keeps all of us so young. I go to the basketball games, the University of Georgia basketball games, and I see these people that have been just fans for so many years, you know what I mean, like in their 70s, and it's like there's nobody on, you know what I mean, their kids aren't playing, it's nothing about that, it's just the spirit. And I think there's a wonderful spirit in this town, and I've traveled the world, and there's just no place like home. There's no place like Athens.
I totally agree with you. And, you know, I always say, too, that with all of the, you know, whether it be the news cycle or people that might not agree on everything, the one thing we're never going to disagree on is that music is amazing and that go Dogs if we live in Athens at least. So it is really a uniting force, both of them.
Yeah, and when I was, you know, a young lady in a band and a waitress, you know, again, I didn't go to school here. My sister went to school here, but I didn't go to school here. But, you know, it always helps when the teams are winning. You know what I mean? You always want the team to win. And maybe you're not watching the game or going to the games per se, but you always want them to win. And I think that's the same way about the musicians that have, like, you know, done so well or won Grammys or, you know what I mean, sold 1 million copies. You know, I think everybody is going to be prideful and feel a part of it, you know, going, oh my gosh, you know. They went to school here, or they, you know, they lived here, and that's how they got their break and stuff. So I think there's a prideful thing.
Yeah. I'm curious, too, you know, I'm really enjoying this. This is so fascinating. Tell me about, having been in it for so long, what is different now, and what has stayed the same?
Sure. Well, one is everything was on the phone. So I did a lot of talking.
What's a phone? I'm just kidding.
So there's a lot of talking to agents and managers and just phone and people coming into the venue. And I used to have like real hours that people would come in, local bands and stuff like that. And now I can make, you know, pretty big deals, you know, money deals just by, you know, the computer and not really having to talk. So I kind of miss talking to some of my favorite agents and stuff like that. So that's that's different, right? Yeah. And so really, you know, I could be traveling and still do my job, because if you have a phone, you know what I mean? If you have a computer, you're kind of set up and you don't have to not necessarily be at the office, right? So for many years I've worked out of my home. Just because I don't have to be at the 40 Watt, and we have a great night manager that takes care of the bands at the end of the night and stuff like that. So I would say that's different, because I was definitely 12-hour days in the venue, and I always say that. Well, I do. One of the things I say is if I don't want to listen to new music, if I'm just not interested in listening to new music, then I need to pass the baton to someone that was just like me when I was younger. And but great, you know. To be honest with you, I still love it. Great. And, you know, I went to see Billie Eilish last year. Like, I love new music. I love young, you know, I listen to SoundCloud. I put Shazam constantly. Any TV show that I watch that I don't know who that is, you know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out who it is. And
have you heard of the new artist Monrovia?
No.
If you haven't, I'm going to send him to
Okay,
you. He
okay.
was a Rwandan refugee that came to the United States and was raised in Appalachia and is doing all of this like folksy meets country type of
Yeah.
music. Just really fascinating sound. I have
Yeah.
to send that
Okay,
to you.
yeah, please.
He popped up on my feed one day.
But that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, and that's what I tell my friends.
great.
Yeah, when I'm in an airplane, all the time I just look next to me. It could be a kid, it could be an older person, and I go, "What are you listening to?" I'm constantly trying to figure out what everybody is listening to, and then if the older person's like, "I don't know, I just listen to the stuff I listened to in college," I go, "Well, what are your kids listening to?" So I'm constantly trying to do that, and then
That's a great approach. Yeah. I like
yeah,
that.
I'm just very curious. I'm still very curious, and I get super excited when I hear something new, and it just makes me realize, you know, I don't think people understand, because a lot of people go, I just don't have time to go to the music venues anymore, and I completely understand, but they're still listening to music, either
Yeah.
through a movie or working out. I mean, we listen
It's
to
everywhere
music.
we go.
It's everywhere we go, and so I don't think they realize like how important all of that is. So you don't necessarily have to go. Like, I don't ever ask people like, how many shows did you go this year? Because that's, you know what I mean, some people
Yeah.
can't get to shows. That doesn't mean they don't love their music, and they
Right.
still don't listen to music and support music. And
I have a
so-
hard time getting to shows, but I will say there's nothing like getting there, because that collectivism, that atmosphere that you feel when all people in one place are listening to and believing the same thing in one moment, there's something so remarkable about that.
Well, I think it was a couple of years ago when Bob Dylan played the Classic Center, and I just remember going, that summer, I said, I want to be a fan. I want to buy a ticket, I want to sit in a chair, and I want to listen, and I don't want to worry about, you know, how much the guarantee was or how much the bar made. And so that summer, I went to Bob Dylan, and I went to Neil Young at Ameris, and I went to Modest Mouse and the Pixies. I mean, I just went to a Billie Eilish. I just went to a bunch of concerts, and I was so happy that I still love it, and it's not just a job where I'm at the 40 watt. And
I'm glad you're
there's
getting to
something
still enjoy yourself too,
That's- yeah,
as busy
yeah.
as you are.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
it's
to,
great.
because again, people can sense that. You know what I mean? And I can't sell something if I'm not in it, and I shouldn't. And like I said, I should just pass the baton. And that's what I'm trying. I have the Terry College of Business. I have a women's group in the music business department, and it's like 20 girls right now, and we have like 316 of them. But
Wow.
the main thing is like, I have been so blessed to be in this business for so long. They're about to come up, and so I just want to support them and be a good mentor, because I've been so blessed. But it's also, it's a little bit selfish too, because I want the men and women that are in my business to have great attitudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we have to have great attitudes, because artists are always going to be more sensitive than others, and the people that are working for this artist need to understand that. And I just feel like if you don't understand how special this group is, you know, you say football is not for long, NFL, right? But in the music business, most bands really last 2 records, and then they usually get dropped. So you're talking about 5 to 10 years at most, and then they have to kind of move on. Now you have the Rolling Stones, and you
Sure,
have bands
sure.
that have been forever, but really when you think about your favorite bands, you're like, where are they, or why don't they put new music out? It's usually because it just
Fizzles.
kind of fizzles. And so I'm really trying. Like I said, I don't know, since 2017 I've worked with this women's group, and I just really am trying to, all over the map, just look where they are and where are they working. Like, is it an agency? Is it a record company? Is it and really getting like good positive people out there in that force.
Well, the Velenas of the world, of which I know there are very few, just like you, but people that are connected to a venue or, a iconic venue like the 40 Watt in Athens, I mean, I would think that, your interaction with an artist could make or break whether they come here. And so how important that weight must be for you and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that we haven't really talked about, but like I said, we're talking about Athens, but I always thought I was going to get into A&R, and that eventually I was going to move to Los Angeles or New York. That's where I thought I was going to have to be.
A&R being
just for, picking the talent and for a record company.
Got it.
Right? With that being said, people were saying to me, nobody's just going to knock on your door. You know what I mean? They're just not going to go to Athens, knock on your door and go, hey, do you want this, wonderful job in New York and Los Angeles? And I'm like, okay. But with that being said, now, all these years later, I really didn't have to go anywhere. And one of the great promoters of the South, if not ever, Alex Cooley, who brought Led Zeppelin, the Sex Pistols, and a bunch of bands to Atlanta. He's now passed. But he did call me and asked me if I wanted to book a venue in Atlanta called the Buckhead Theater. And I ended up, and I remember going, I'm not really interested in booking another square box. And but my husband was like, just go and shake his hand. Like, just have a conversation with him. He's such an interesting man. And but anyway, to make a long story short, we got along great, and I ended up doing that. And then when that moved into Live Nation, I've been with Live Nation now for 8 years. And after COVID, they promoted me to vice president of Live Nation. So I actually have 150 rooms that I work across the country. And so that's why I'm gone a lot. But I was blessed to still, I told them, even with that big promotion, 40 Watt is like my right arm. You know what I mean? It's my love. It's my first child. So it's like, I'm never leaving Athens. I'm not moving anywhere. And I'm not going
You're just putting us on the map.
Yeah. So it's even, but kind of.
Yeah.
So I think yes. So now Live Nation is doing more shows at the 40 Watt, and now we have the arena, and Live Nation, like I said, the first show we did was the B-52s in of Montreal, which I got to be a part of because I'm Live Nation. So with that being said, I do think that I'm spreading the good word. I think, yes.
Absolutely.
Right? So
it makes sense.
But like I said, I wouldn't ever leave the 40 Watt.
Well, I'm glad.
I love my job, but I love the Live Nation job. But 40 Watt, it's my legacy, and I curated it, and it would be just super hard for me to.
Well, what a legacy it is. And speaking of, you brought it up now a couple of times. It segues perfect into my next question. The arena is now on scene here in the Classic City, which I know is changing the music scene totally. Tell us your thoughts on its arrival and how you think it will impact the future of music here.
So I don't know how many years ago, but when it was just an idea, Paul Kramer asked me my opinion of it, and I was 100% for it. Yeah. Because one of the things that Barry and I always say is we don't care where the artist is, we just want them in our town instead of having to go somewhere else to see someone. So for us to have the arena now, and I've been a few times to shows, and
I've caught a few hockey games too.
Yeah, and I've gone to one hockey game.
Who would have thunk it was so fun?
No, and it was so much fun, and I love the name. I voted.
Yeah, it's a good name.
And I wanted Rock Lobsters, and I have my jersey they gave me.
I have my hat.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, this is big for us. I mean, Athens has already gotten so much bigger because before we'd go, when the college kids are gone, then it's just a ghost town. That's not true anymore.
It's not the case anymore.
We have so many conventions that come through the summer, and like I said, I do very well down at the 40 Watt. And
it seems a lot of students are staying during the summer.
Yeah, they don't leave.
And the people who left are coming back, as you said. Yeah, it's fascinating
and
time.
AdFest has gotten bigger and bigger, which is in June. And so with that being said, we're not a small little town anymore. I used to call it tiny town, but it's not so much a tiny town anymore, but in a good way. So I am now, like I said, because I'm do what I do for Live Nation, I see the arena and even the Classic Center. I think it's actually given it a boost to the Classic Center as well. And now with the new director, Allison, doing both, booking both, it'll be like this one fits better here, this one fits better, but you're going to have a lot more. And I already see the upcoming events that they've just announced, big shows. So big, I mean, not only good business for Athens, because you're talking about hotels and restaurants and all that stuff.
And those dollars all go back reinvested into the community in some way, shape, form, or fashion, which is great.
So anytime, like next year, in February we always do a 4 nights of homecoming with the drive-by truckers, and all of those people come from all over the country, and so the hotels do well, and the restaurants and the bars do well, and then my husband does a cracker Camper Van Beethoven camp out.
Which my grandmother Becky, who is watching this right now, I know is a huge fan.
Yeah, that's 4 nights too.
You tell David she was excited about him, but I was excited about you.
Thank you, Team Vigo. So we do that in March. So we always have these events. throughout the year. And we do things in the summer, like I said, with AthFest that like really helps the town too and boost. People come back, even if the students are gone, they come back for AthFest. And even the Halloween, the parade.
Wild Rumpus, yeah.
Yeah, Wild Rumpus is just huge numbers. So Athens, I am super stoked for, especially like I said, I think the arena has really put us on the map. I mean, I know 40 Watt, we're on a little map, but I'm just telling you, we're going to get some big shows.
Yeah.
And that's going to be fantastic for us. And then those bands are coming, and they're probably going to go, I haven't been here in years, because they had to play the small clubs. Now they play the big arena, and then they'll tell their friends.
Before I go to my next question, I want to know, are there any performers that you're hoping to see come as a result of the arena, or come back, like you said?
Right. Well, we have been trying. We were talking about, because there's 2 nights of Billy Strings, which we're super stoked about, and all the country artists that are coming is super neat, because I had them, and so now they're getting big and everything. But I would like to see, like I said, when I was talking about the Bob Dylan and the Bonnie Raitt, I'd like to see like James Taylor. I'd like to see some classic. You know what I mean? Like that 70s or 80s music come to the arena, because I think there's an age group, the youngins to the old, that would really appreciate it. And, we're not going to have them for long. Yeah. And I would like just to see some of those folks come too. So I hope that happens. And I'd like to see more comedy, because when I was at comedy at the arena, that was really fun. And, it was, And the beautiful thing about the arena too, and I'm so pleased, is because at B52, since that was our show, I got to go in every seat just to see like where it was, how it sounded, what it looked like, and there's not a bad seat in the house. No. And it feels intimate, even though it's that many people.
Yeah, because some venues are kind of like you're way up in the nosebleed or something, but this one, there's not a bad seat in the house.
It's not a bad seat in the house, and in fact, a little name dropping here, but I was at the Grammys this past year, and I was in the nosebleed seat, and I thought I was going to have vertigo, and thank goodness I could go down, and I kind of snuck into a better seat.
Of course.
But my point was like, oh no. Like, I just realized, like, I can't get it, and it's not because I'm too cool for school. It's just like I can't look that far down.
Yeah,
so
no.
I'm so,
I can't sit at the top of Sanford Stadium.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. That's huge too. So I think that the arena is a perfect size, because it doesn't have that kind of feel.
Yeah.
I feel like you can be anywhere and feel great in it.
And there's also a lot of music history incorporated into the arena as well. Did you have any part in that?
My friend did, but I didn't.
It's really cool. I think the B-52's segment in there, so cool.
Yeah.
I also saw, this is not on my questions, but I saw this on Instagram yesterday, and I don't know if you have any part of it or if you can speak to it. I saw Sanford Stadium is now hosting concerts. Yeah,
that's interesting, because the same 2 artists was there that Live Nation did, whatever it was, 7 years ago or something like that. We aren't affiliated with it.
Okay, I was curious.
So, but I think that there's some talk, because I think there was a little disappointment, and I think that they're hoping if they start that up again, that it doesn't happen every 7 years, that next year Live Nation will get to put something in it next year.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
That would be a big thing.
So yeah,
too,
so let's see. Yeah, so I think let's see how. I'm sure it's going to be very, very successful. And then they'll probably go from there and go, we don't need to do this just once every few years.
Yeah.
We should do this at least once a year.
Well, we'll stay tuned then.
We'll stay tuned. Yes, we'll stay tuned. Yep.
As we're winding down here, I'm curious, why, and you've kind of touched on it, but why have you stayed here all these years? I'm sure you've had opportunities to go elsewhere and be elsewhere, but, why here? Why still?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm from Atlanta, and I went 70 miles to Athens, and right, and my sister actually that was in the band with me lives in Prague, so she's lived in Los Angeles, she's lived in Chicago, she's been Miss International, and she's been in Prague for many years and raising her children and stuff like that. But I think once I was at the 40 Watt and bought my home, you know what I mean, and it was a forever home. It wasn't, and had a record label here, and all the things that have happened for me. And especially now, I promise you, I don't think there could be any money that could get me to live anywhere else. I think Athens is just, it's a comfort. You know what I mean? There's a comfort, and it's small enough to where your doctor and your dentist and everybody's so convenient, and I've got my yoga center, and I've got my maypole and my national, you know what I mean? I've got my restaurants and
most in walking distance.
Yeah, everything. Yeah. So it's like, if I need to walk and stuff. So I used to, a few years back would go, well, what would it have been like if I had lived in San Francisco or New York for a minute, right? And as you said, I've had opportunities and job offers in major cities and stuff like that. But really thankful that I stayed here because it was so consistent. Where other people that offered me that, they're not even in the business anymore.
Yeah.
So that might have been.
So there's some timeless nature to this place too.
So I'm just saying, like, I think the consistency of Barry and I being partners for so many years at the 40 Watt is just like, there's something good about that. It was no rumblings. There's no change. Whereas, like, if you're working for a big company, you don't know how long you're going to.
Sometimes consistency is key.
Right.
That's what
or
I say.
Your boss gets fired, that means you get fired. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. So I think it all worked out.
Yeah.
Personally. But I tell young folks, do what you have to do. If you need to, but usually you're going to come back. But if you have to go out there and fly the nest for a minute, but with the football season and everything that's going on, you see a lot of people saying that they actually have little places here, that they went to school here, maybe they live in Atlanta or Tennessee and stuff, but they still have a place here because they go to the games or come for the weekends and stuff like that. So I think there's just, like I said, there's just a spirit
It's a nostalgic
here.
place for people too. I mean, I was talking with someone the other day who came back because they heard that Eurorap was back downtown.
I just ate there 2 days ago. It was so good. It was exactly like it was supposed to be.
That's what everybody says.
I asked for a barbecue chicken wrap, and I'm telling you, I tasted it, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like 30 years ago. It was awesome.
I love that.
I know, it really is. It's fun.
Velena, what would you tell visitors who might be listening to this or coming to Athens soon, how they can best experience the live music scene of Athens, and also some of its history? We have a Walk of Fame here now too.
We do. Yeah, I would definitely tell anybody. I think they need to stay in town, like downtown. I always tell the bands to do that too because we're such a good walking town. There's so many like vintage shops and little
Lots
places.
Of good vintage.
Yes, yeah, and record stores and just like even if you're just window shopping, I think you just don't get bored. And then the campus is so close by, so if you want to walk down and get into the campus, how beautiful that is, stuff. And then of course all the independent eateries that we have. Downtown. So I would definitely say, since we have so many boutique hotels and the bigger chain, nicer hotels, like just stay in town.
That's
and
a
then
good advice.
Pick up your flagpole or pick up or look online. But I think between 40 Watt, the Georgia Theater, the Classic Center, the Arena, the Foundry, you are going to find something, you know what I mean, that weekend that you could, buy a ticket for, right? Because not every show.
We still have posters everywhere too. We're still
a
poster town.
We still have posters. And just, and the good thing now is everybody understands you don't want to be out too late. So doors are usually 7 o'clock and national acts go on at 8 o'clock. So you could be back at your hotel by 10.
Shows are earlier here, which I like.
Yes, it's so much, everybody is doing that now. And so I just feel like if they just pop in, and just get a feel for some of these smaller venues and then go around the corner to a little, to the Globe or to the Manhattan or, whatever little bar you want to get to. But you'll get a feel. I think they need to feel it.
Yeah.
And if you're not in town, walking the streets of Athens and kind of going into these
and some
venues
places you can
stuff,
hear it while you're walking,
well,
like
that's
rooftop
true too. That's true
places.
too.
Yeah.
That's true too. And there's usually, even if it's not even like, a nice, a good local band, there might be like a national act that they can't believe is even here, so, or the hockey, like try that.
I never thought that it would be my thing.
I know.
And I love it.
I know. And you know what I love about the arena too? Is like they have the good restaurants in there.
Yeah.
You can
and it's affordable. It's great.
I actually really enjoyed the food. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah.
It is great. And you, I know, had some role in the Athens Walk of Fame, perhaps coming here. So tell us about that project.
Yeah, so years and years ago, going to Hollywood and going to Palm Springs and just seeing their Walk of Fame and stuff, I'm like, why don't we have something like that? We have had so many big artists live here, born here, not even in the 80s and 90s, but talking about vaudeville and just, very, very steep history in the music industry. And lo and behold, it finally came to fruition to, I was talking about the Linden House, a woman named Dee Dee kind of, I don't know how she got the funds, but Mayor Gertz, which is our mayor, put together a group of people to vote, and I was one of those people, awesome. And got to be a part of that for the first few years of it starting. But it's just so much fun, especially when you do have out-of-towners and they follow
it's a good scavenger hunt.
Yeah, they follow
really
the guitar
is.
picks, and they're looking for widespread, and they're looking for REM or whoever. But the 40 Watt Club got one last year, and so we were very prideful about that. So it's right in front of our right in front of the 40 Watt, and I love it.
Well, I think exciting. It looks better than Hollywood.
I do
but
too.
That's just me.
I do too, and I like it better than Palm Springs because that's kind of a generic palm tree. So I think we did better. Yeah.
Well, I do think that there's one name that needs to be added eventually. I might be talking to her right now. I really think what you have offered this community through music and the people that you've brought here and propelled from here is so remarkable.
Thank you.
So as we wind down, I do have a few rapid fire questions for you, Velena. Right. So the first is, what is your favorite hidden gem here in the Classic City?
Are we talking about restaurant or
anything? Right. Restaurant, bar, a venue that people don't know about, whatever might be obscure to some.
I really my two go-to if you're having an anniversary or something special is the National. I love that. I love the whole ambiance. I love the food. I love
not
the
a far
vibe.
walk from you either.
Yeah, not far from me. And then I love Maypole. I love Maypole because it's so good, but it's fast. And I just feel like if you're not a person that cooks a lot, which I don't cook very often, I know I can go there. Right. You can go there and you can get your good vegetables, and then if you want to get a side and stuff. And I love that they're independent. I just think I think it's unique because there's a lot of small towns, especially in Georgia, where they have a lot of chains and they don't have the good independent restaurants. And I think we're blessed with that. So that's what I would say.
I love that. So what about your top Athens memory? I know you probably have a copious amount that you could pull from, but one that really just stands out as being a core Athens moment for you.
Probably booking Nirvana.
For $1,500, right? For
$1,500, yeah, because we afterwards went and they loved REM and they loved the Beatles, and we went and they looked at a friend of mine's record collection, and we just had a great night. And then for them to tell me afterwards that was one of their favorite times ever touring. Dave Grohl told us that with the Foo Fighters. So that was probably the biggest because I knew they were going to break, and we got them before they broke. And there was just something in me like, we have to have this band. And so we just caught them right at the moment. So even though that's been 1991 and I have plenty of other memories, I think that's my biggest one because that was the start of my career of booking for all these years.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. And the last but certainly not least is, what is an annual event or festival that you never miss?
Probably my husband's, the Cracker in March.
Camping?
Yeah, Cracker and Camp because that's in March and it's at the 40 Watt Club, and you get these diehard crumbs, as they're called, and I get to pick other bands to open my husband's bands and stuff like that. And so Athens gets to see out-of-town bands that maybe they don't know, and then all these all these people from all over the country get to see Athens. That was the first time for many people, especially on the West Coast in Europe, that had ever even been to Athens was because of that camp out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we're not camping out; it's actually at the 40 Watt.
Yeah, I learned that recently.
Yeah, they stay at hotels. They stay at hotels. They were kind of like going, do we have to camp out? Do we camp out in the middle of the venue? And I'm like, no.
I remember asking Becky that, and she was like, no, it's
like camp in, camp out. Camp in is the 40 Watt, camp out we do out west. But we do it at spring break. So the college kids are gone. And I just love, again, that we can help restaurants and bars and all the hotels out because they're gone to their spring break. And then the older folks are coming into Athens
it's a great
for
setup.
Our spring break. So we've been doing it for, 16 years now. So, so that's probably my favorite.
Well, I appreciate you. It is such an honor to get to talk with you today. Thanks for going off the record with me, and look forward to many more shows to come at both the 40 Watt and the Arena and beyond.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining us here on Athens Off the Record. I'm your host, Cameron J. This podcast, of course, is brought to you by our friends here at Visit Athens, and you can always learn more about these happenings and more at visitathensga.com. We'll look forward to seeing each and every single one of you right back here next time in the Classic City. Thanks so much.